Sorry to interrupt you. Ben wants me to do a quick presentation on the website. I have a bunch of stuff on my computer. Is there any way I could just plug it in?
Through Zoom?
Yeah.
If I unplug?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Let me send it to you.
Yeah, if you can email it to me, it'll be easier.
Never seen you.
Marshall, can you say something? I just need to test the speakers.
Look very.
Hello.
All right.
Good to know everybody's there.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
You have Nancy McCready, Chuck. We got
Yes, hello.
and
I'm here.
Steve Shear.
I couldn't see the.
Steve Day?
No, Steve Shear.
Steve Shear.
He has to email me what he wants to present since we're Zoom today. So, yeah.
Is he doing it right now?
So it's gonna take a minute.
Danny, and welcome all. Good to see everybody. We have a really special guest today. And he's walking in, look at him. Never far. This is the man behind the scenes here. This is Dan Gold, the executive director. He'll be speaking today, so you'll know a little bit about him. Today we're on Zoom. So Dan, when you're talking, you have to be here for them to see you. Okay? Got it. And I know the next slide is going to be welcoming you Zoomers. I haven't seen Marcia Day. How long has it been, Marcia? Could it be 3 months, 2 months? You're muted.
No,
Marcia,
I don't think it's that long. I think I missed last month's meeting because I was flying somewhere during the meeting and you can't get on Zoom on planes. But anyway, I go to plenty of Rotary meetings, so about 2 or 3 a day at least.
Well, by the way, I have a couple of things I want to give you that have been in my car for 2 months.
Well, I'm going to be there. I'm flying back on November 1st, so I'll be there for a few weeks in November.
Okay, good. We'll look forward to seeing you. I'll keep them in my car.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see you. Nancy, welcome. Chuck, Steve, good to see everybody.
Thank you.
I say welcome to those on Zoom. Unite for Good. I'm going to ask my man, I'm looking right at you. What does Unite for Good mean to you? Yeah. Well, you know what? That would be great. I think we need more of it. Actually, I heard Richard Gere has produced a new movie about the Dalai Lama. And I watched it this morning, a little clip on it, and it's exactly those words. He said he's 90 years old, and he said, if you can smile and be with people, the only way you can do that is be with yourself. And forget about it, the politics of things, and just look at somebody as a human being. And that was a good thought. That's my thought of the day. So moving right along, I want to thank John O'Keefe for being the best greeter. Let's give him a hand. And by the way, the reason you're the best greeter is because you're one of the oldest members here. So, yeah, if you speak up loud enough. So I guess what you did is appoint our other greeter, Janet. So I mean that you got teamwork. Okay, let's move on. Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Bob Simon. Flag is over there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Well, the thought of the day was actually scheduled for Sam, but he isn't here. So in his place, Jim Crane. Come on in, Jim.
I'm going to share another prayer from Dr. Myron Taylor, who was a member of this club for many, many years. Before I do that, though, I want to just say that I'm very thankful that we do have what appears to be peace in the Middle East. And I know we've been praying about that and thinking about that for a long time. And hopefully things will go well here in the future. But let's bow our heads for this short little prayer. Our Father, we thank you for life, for good friends with which to share it. We are grateful for the things that make life worthwhile, a purpose for which to live, a sense of personal worth, and loved ones to make each day bright and meaningful. Thank you for Rotary and the privilege of putting service above self. Add your blessings to each of our lives today. Amen.
Amen. Good job. Very, very nice, Jim. And we have, hold on. Well, the song of the day. Oh, it's very appropriate. Where's the, don't put on a Yankee hat, please. You got a Dodger hat? Oh no, you better not wear a Brewer hat. That's what I'll tell you.
Okay, good. Okay, would you stand, please? And since the Dodgers are playing for the National League Championship, they've 2-up on Milwaukee, wherever that is. And I think Mark Rogo is at the game.
Will be, yes.
Now, can I ask you a question, and then we'll get to the song? Does anyone know the name of the field the Dodgers played in until 1958 before they moved?
Abbott's. Abbott's Field.
Yeah, it was Ebbets Field. So why did they move from Ebbets Field? Well, first, the stadium was in the middle of Brooklyn. There was no parking and only a field that sat, I guess, 35,000 people. And Robert Moses at the time offered O'Malley, who owned the Dodgers, a new stadium in Flushing Meadow is where the US Tennis Open is. And the problem with Flushing Meadow was that it was in Queens. And O'Malley said, I'm not moving the Brooklyn Dodgers from Brooklyn. I don't want to go to Queens. Said, no Brooklyn Dodgers are going to play in Queens. But then he moved to LA. I must say something about Ebbets Field. I pitched at Ebbets Field, and I pitched just before a night game. And they had a pitching contest for Stanlight players. And we were there, it was a packed house, 35,000, and this was at 8 o'clock, the game started at 8:30. My opponent at the time, because we both pitched on Sandlot, police boy leagues out on Long Island, was somebody you probably heard of. And that was Jim Brown, the NFL running back, Syracuse Heisman Trophy winner, the most of us. And guess who won?
You did.
I did.
Yeah, baby.
But it was really exciting to do that. All right, let's give it a shot. Let me put on a hat.
It's good, Pete. We're sorry that he pulled out of the, he had to get ahead of everybody else. Hold on. Be prepared.
Umpire's hat on, that's all.
Oh,
This is an umpire's hat. And Jim, you know baseball, are the umpires neutral?
not
Okay, let's give it a shot because we have an interesting speaker. Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the crowd. Just buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back to be root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out of the old ball game. Thank you.
Play ball. Play ball. All right. Thank you today to Janet, who's doing the windmill. We switched it up. What?
He went on to say, you can see it on your computer, but it comes out Friday, and it's really saying go see it in the theater, because even if you see it alone, you're going to be moved up and down and have all sorts of emotions. And in the theater, it's really interesting to watch everyone's reaction.
Very good. And actually, a theater, that's what it's for. But on this particular documentary that Richard Gere put, he was witnessing this in Europe, and people came out like, we are the same people, even though we're different. So that's the message behind that. Visiting Rotarians and guests of Rotarians. So we have a Rotaract, the president of Rotaract, Natalie, step up and tell us a little bit. Do people really want to get to know you? Okay, good. We welcome you. And I have a special guest that I want to call up to the podium. Feng, come on up. Feng Yi. Yeah, there you go. Come on up. Come on up. In our tradition, when we have a guest come, we have a banner. Oh, take some photos. Come over here. I'm going to present you our club banner. And we have a pin. You're going to be an honorary Bruin. Because this is part of the campus of UCLA. Okay, it's beautiful. Thank you. So let me pin this on you without ruining your jacket. So, here you go. Okay. You got it? That's what happens when you have a senior moment. What club is he in? He is in the club of Shenzhen. Shenzhen. Am I, is that good?
Yeah,
Okay. Near Hong Kong. And we're going to get his banner and he's going to get ours. Yes. Welcome. Yes. I didn't want to ruin your jacket. Good job. Okay. Here we go. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Welcome. He, by the way, predicted that the United States and China will be at peace again. He said that. Bet on it, he said. Yeah, not a trade war. Okay. Thank you very much. Welcome. We're good. Yeah. We have them. Some are in my house, some of them are in Mark Roga. We're getting something to display it. So that's what Mark is working on. Yeah, we definitely have a bunch of them. So we'll keep this here. Again, welcome. Is there any other special? I forget you. Please stand up. I know you're a retired Rotarian from the Big Bear Club. Tell us your name.
Member of the Big Bear Rotary Club. The sergeant at arms there right now, but we haven't had a home in Big Bear. I in Westwood for 50 years. And I finally retired from Big Bear, and I'm going to make Big Bear my second home, and Westwood my residence.
Well, guess what? Guess what? We would love for you to transfer over. You're welcome to. We might have to vet you. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. This was an event that Janet was not at the time here, but she did join us. So we had Misha, who's is she the vice president? Community service, Diane, myself, and Janet. And just so you know, the program, we are highlighted as a corporate sponsor. Just wanted you to see that in the back of the brochure. So we helped fund this thing. And people that don't know about Opeka, it's a wonderful place. I got a chance to have lunch with a few people that go there. A gentleman who never painted in his life felt community when he was there. And he had 3 pieces of art, which were not for sale because he bought them from himself. But he was proud of his artwork. And this just gives people a sense of community, since that's the theme, community. And that's Unite for Good. Okay. Announcements. November 1st will be this year's Rotary Foundation celebration. Tickets are available at the district website. And November 22nd, please join us for packing boxes and food at Westwood Transitional Village for Thanksgiving for the families living there. So those are 2 announcements, and we'll be repeating those announcements next week. Okay. How many people, we know we have 1 table. How many people will help in packing the food for deserving families at Westwood Transition?
What time is it?
Diane, what time is it?
Dan. 9 seconds.
And what day is it? I will be on a business trip, so very rarely get away for business. So I'm not going to be there. I apologize. And we have a special meeting. November 20th, we're having the district governor and his entourage here. I've already made arrangements with David down, and he's going to arrange for maybe some additional tables and a board. Everybody who's on the board come earlier because we're going to have a board meeting with the executive director. District.
What day was that?
November 20th. Will you be there?
I'm not sure. But
We'll make sure that you get an invitation, okay? We would love to see you, Marcia. And another annual event, December 4th, is our WVRC's signature event, Christmas shopping with the children from the Salvation Army. If you haven't done this, this is so much fun. Their faces light up and they go shopping for their families, not for themselves. So please make sure we're supportive. Oh my God, this is my pleasure. The man who's behind this place, I don't know how many years he's been here, but he plans, I believe, on retiring here. By the way, he is not a rabbi. He's just the executive director here. Let's give a warm Westwood Village friendly club to Dan Gold. I'm on over here.
Okay, is that the Zoom and everything?
Don't ring the gavel.
All right, I'm gonna put my phone so I don't talk for too long. Well, taller, so you know.
Will you make the short jump?
I always do. Whatever, you know, when you're given advantages in life, you take it, you know.
Okay.
People need help taking things off the top shelf. I always offer. It's my job. But it's really a great pleasure to be here. My name, of course, is Dan Gold, and I do have the privilege of serving my full sponsored title as the Rosalinde and Arthur Gilbert Foundation Chair Executive Director here at this Hillel. This is a job that I started almost 2.5 years ago. I started in May of 2023. And prior to the role here, I spent over 13 years as an employee of the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles. So I have many years experience in the Los Angeles Jewish community as a professional. I'm also a proud dad and a husband. I live out in West Hills, Woodland Hills area. So I'm familiar with the whole scope of the Jewish community here in Los Angeles. And originally I'm from the New England area. I was born and raised in a small town called Longmeadow, Massachusetts. So if the Red Sox aren't playing, the only thing I care about is that the Yankees are also not playing. So we're good there. And then of course in basketball season, I make a lot of friends with Laker fans these days. So those are my allegiances. And of course here at UCLA, and we have a 2-game winning streak in the football team. How about that? It's very, who said what? 2-game winning streak. Nobody thought we'd win 2 games total. We have a 2-game winning streak on the football team. This week they're playing, I don't know, are they in Ohio State this week or next week?
Maryland.
They beat, are they in Maryland? Somebody said? Yeah. They beat, who did they beat? Michigan State. That's right. Yeah. So they beat Penn State and then they beat Michigan State. Yeah. But I'm not here to talk about sports. And I'm not here to talk about things that I don't know well, but I do want to talk about this incredible organization, this facility, this building that, you know, we're so proud that you guys use every week for your meeting, or most weeks for your meetings. So what is Hillel? I'm sure not just because you walk in this building so often, but I'm sure you have some of you have some familiarity with what Hillel is. So Hillel, yeah, no? I call it Hillel. Accent on the first syllable. You could say Hillel, but there's no difference. Hillel.
As long as we check.
Exactly. Yeah, the spelling is more important than the pronunciation. Very good point. But our Hillel is part of a network of Hillels. There's almost 200 Hillels throughout the country. Of course, Hillel is the mainstream Jewish organization on campus supporting Jewish life and Jewish students on campuses, not only throughout America, but throughout the world. There's Hillel in Brazil. There's Hillel in Eastern Europe. There's even, believe it or not, Hillel in Israel. Because no matter where you are, even in the Jewish state, it's important to build Jewish life and to support Jewish students. But where did we get the name Hillel? Because for me, you know, even though I am certainly not a rabbi, many years of studying if I ever wanted to become one or it became a requirement, but I like to consider myself somewhat of a Jewish educator. I've also worked in summer camps and in informal Jewish education settings. So where did we get our name Hillel from? Anybody know where the name Hillel comes from? Hillel the Elder, right? So Rabbi Hillel, or Hillel the Elder as he's known, was one of the many teachers in Jewish biblical history. And back when Jews were in the ancient civilization in our homeland in Jerusalem, we were, as we always are, united, but I like to say divided. Not divided in a bad way, right? But divided as the Jewish world goes. And I'll get to what that means a little bit later. But Hillel, the elder, Rabbi Hillel, was one of the preeminent teachers. If you had an opportunity to learn with Rabbi Hillel, you were considered a privileged student. All right, but Hillel had a competitor, let's say. Does anybody know who the competitor was to Rabbi Hillel? Whose other house of learning was seen as preeminent? Nope, not quite. Rabbi Shammai or Shammai. So you had the house of Hillel and you had the house of Shammai. These were the two main houses of learning in ancient Jewish civilization in Jerusalem. And the irony was that the way Jewish thought and the way Jewish law is passed down, and I know if you're a Jew in the room or if you're not a Jew in the room, you'll probably chuckle, but it is just the truth, is through debate. It's through arguing. You argue, what does this mean? Right? The joke, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. That's both funny, but also how we have passed down our tradition. And so in a yeshiva, in a house of learning or a school, rabbis teach and students debate. And every now and then there are moments in history when those debates turn into interpretations that get passed down into new ways of living. So often there needs to be a winner in a debate. And that's how these houses of learning worked, that they would have a topic, they would have a debate, and then they would decide what is it that we now know to have part of our Jewish law. Okay? And oftentimes the judgment for what made a Jewish law put into be implemented was based upon the decision and the almost like the community seeing the seniority or the authenticity that the rabbi came to this conclusion. Almost like an academic decision saying, oh yes, that sounds like the right thing. That has the most back end. It's been defended and it sounds the best. But time and time again, Rabbi Hillel's interpretations were chosen, one after one, day after day, week after week. You could even say year after year. His interpretations were always the ones that became the following of the Jewish people over Rabbi Shammai. And it was actually not because of what I just said. In fact, Rabbi Shammai was known to be more scholarly, more knowledgeable, and have wiser interpretations than Rabbi Hillel. So I'm curious if anybody here knows why then Rabbi Hillel's learnings and Rabbi Hillel's teachings became the way of Jewish law. Anybody know? There's a very kind of famous way he did it that made him to be followed. And if you don't know, I'll tell you because it's an important story, not only for our community and for the Jewish people, but I think your club, the Rotary Club, will appreciate it. Rabbi Hillel, when he gave his ruling after a debate and saying what argument won out, he would always include the voice of the dissenting view. He would always if you go to DC, there's a couple of judges, right? They do the same thing. There's a way he would always honor the dissenting view. And for Jews, that was very important because it made sure that everybody's voice was heard and that through the generations, those debates would be honored. It wasn't just that somebody's voice went out and that's the only thing that we remembered. And so we as a Hillel movement take that as a mandate that this institution is going to be there for every young Jewish person on our campuses. No matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, no matter what your views are, no matter your education level, you have a place in this Hillel. And that is our mandate, that is our movement, and that is what we do to ensure the cohesion, the strength, and the unity of the Jewish people. Now, what does that mean for the work that we actually do? What does that mean for our place in the Jewish community? Now, I mentioned this idea of debate being so important, right? And the reason that debate is so important, these houses of worship were so important, is because, again, it's both funny but true, we have no pope in the Jewish community. The Jewish world has no pope. There is no one single ruler, there's no one single way of thinking, and yes, there is no one rabbi that says this is the way you need to do something in order to be considered Jewish. There's a chief rabbi sometimes of some communities, and of course there are leaders that give guidance, but there's no one way to be Jewish. And if there's no one way to be Jewish, that both becomes the Jewish people's superpower and our kryptonite. Because while we simultaneously can empower everybody to interpret Judaism, to be Jewish in their own way, it also fails to offer one way of uniting under a single form of lifestyle, a single form of belief, or a single form of ritual. Yet, the Jewish people magically have endured. And the traditions have lasted not only generation and generation and century after century, but I'd say even more unbelievably through trauma after trauma, persecution after persecution. So there may be something to this idea of not having that central voice that says, this is the one way to do it. So we combine these truths about Judaism and what it means to be a young Jew in the world. We have Persian Jews in our population, of course, at UCLA. We have Israelis, we have American Ashkenazi, we have religious Sephardic. You have Russian, immigrants from the former Soviet Union. You have what we can now call as a broad term, Jews of color, which are Jews that grow up in a background that's a different type of minority in America, either through intermarriage or through ancestral background. We have this broad definition and community. And in 2025, there's an unfortunate reality about living in the world as a young person. And that the data shows us that out of all of Gen Z, which is basically 15 to 30, let's say, Gen Z, 75% claim to be lonely either part or all of the time. Loneliness is an epidemic in our community and in our society, I should say. And so the idea of a community, and you guys know this being part of a Rotary Club, is unfortunately the thing that we are losing quicker than we're building. And Hillel stands at not only uniting the Jewish people, of course, but also offering a physical space, a physical way to build that community back up for our people. And we open our doors, of course, beyond just to Jewish students and beyond just to students in general. And so Hillel is about community, it's about unity, it's about peoplehood, and it's about coming together. And we have a challenge, of course. We have these internal challenges, because even though I just gave you a very poetic way of looking at the pluralism of Judaism, there's plenty of people who say, no, my way is the right way to believe. That's what Rabbi Shammai actually said. That's what most rabbis sometimes will say. My way is the right way. So how do you piece together a community when everybody thinks their way is the right way? And let me ask you a question. When things get tough, when political strife comes up, and I'm not sure if you were paying attention, but there's been some political strife over the last couple of years, both inside this country and in the Middle East. We don't all just magically get along. While we do find unity and we do find strength, we also fight for what we believe in. And if people within our own community we don't think are on board, it creates more and more tension. For those that follow Middle East politics know that one of the reasons I believe, and most agree, that Israel became so vulnerable from a security standpoint before October 7th was that they had deep political divides that was resulting in some of the biggest protests on the street that the country had ever seen. So now, of course, protesting and voicing your views is important, but it creates these divisions. And so the Jewish community grapples with being divided. And then we also grapple with what we all know is another unfortunate truth, that there has never been a harder time to be a Jew in America probably than today. That while things are, there's lots of positives in the community and there's lots of allies, the data shows that anti-Semitism is at its peak in Western society since World War II. And when anti-Semitism is at its peak, the result for young Jews, especially when it comes to our Hillel, is going back to that statistic I told you about Gen Z, is that there's isolation. So you have loneliness from being in society, and you have isolation from being a Jew. This is the challenge that Hillel has in front of us. This is the challenge that I take on every day, and why we work so hard to make such a beautiful space, to put solar panels on the roof. And thank you to the Rotary Club for helping sponsor part of that project. Why we work so hard to have food and friends to bring people into this building. Because the statistic about anti-Semitism on the rise, there was no place more apparent, and there was no place with more anti-Semitism than college campuses over the last 2 years. And I won't get into it in my little speech here. I'm going to wrap up in just a couple minutes. I'd be more than happy to answer questions about it. But make no mistake, anti-Semitism does not exist because of the actions of the Israeli government or because of a war in the Middle East. Anti-Semitism exists because people often decide to blame others for the problems that they either experience or they perceive. And the first people to be blamed throughout history is almost always the Jewish people. And so you can always whittle it down to the scapegoating, and the Jews are the first scapegoats. And so we see it in classrooms on this beautiful campus across the street, where professors will say things about Zionists or about Israeli government or whatever it may be, because that's the topic of the day. But at the end of it, it's really about this core idea of scapegoating, of isolating, and projecting projecting the reason for problems on others. And so that's ultimately the challenge that we've been facing. I have taken it upon myself in my role at Hillel to not only fundraise and try to run the building and try to come up with cool programs with our student life staff, but to also be an advocate to our university leadership, to help them understand the real challenges of anti-Semitism, how it's been manifesting, and how Jews have been experiencing it. And Chancellor Frank, thankfully, has been a great ally in these efforts. And there is a new initiative to combat anti-Semitism at our university that I am a part of. And so step by step, we're able to see real change in that regard. With that said, I've spoken a lot, I've said a lot. I hope you learned a little bit about Jewish history, about what this organization is, and about our current status and our current place on campus and in the community in 2025. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. In the back and then in the front.
Colleges, university. Do they all have such a beautiful building?
No, they don't. We're one of the bigger buildings. We're actually not the biggest. University of Wisconsin has a huge building. Columbia has a nice building. You can imagine in New York City, it's a different feel. Actually, I was in Rutgers a couple of weeks ago. They have a 40,000 square foot facility that's amazing. Hillel's also come in different, not only physical shapes and sizes, but figurative shapes and sizes. Our Hillel, for example, we are 100% independent. We are an independent 501c3. We own this building, we operate it, and we actually technically don't have any ties to the university. Like in my email, I have to say I'm the executive director of the Hillel at UCLA, not UCLA Hillel. I'll hear from the media relations folks if I claim to be part of UCLA. But there are some that are embedded. At Duke University, for example, the Hillel is actually run by the university. And the executive director is an employee of the university. In San Diego and in Orange County, these are called multi-campus Hillels. So they actually have multiple centers run by San Diego, the Hillel of San Diego, where they have multiple, and some can be rooms inside of a building in a university, some can be houses, and they take on all shapes and sizes. Good question. Yeah. Correct. Correct. University of Religious Conference used to operate, I don't know, 20 buildings south of here, and then we moved in here, and then we're still a member of the URC actually, but they sold the building. Question. We will get to everybody's question. Yeah.
President Chancellor, Jewish people, why do we have
So there's two reasons. I don't think the identity of the chancellor or president really has a big impact for lots of different reasons. Sometimes you'll find a Jewish chancellor has their own personal sensitivities and doesn't want to, they may not want to come off a certain way. And so they, do or do not do things for one reason or another. The reason that there's anti-Semitism on college campuses is for two very specific reasons. The first, of course, is that this is a place, universities are a place to be expressive. The universities are a place for young people to come and be bold and connect with people and challenge each other. So it's always been a place of protest, of activism, of political thought, of disagreement, of diversity. And so anytime you see any type of social movement, you're going to find a presence on college campuses. That's the first reason. And the second reason is because a very specific movement that I'll call the anti-Zionist movement. It's had other names. You can call it an anti-Israel movement. People have called it the BDS movement, which stands for boycott, sanctions, and divestment. This movement takes advantage of academic freedoms and the premise that I just outlined to promote a specific one-sided zero tolerance policy towards Palestine and Israel. And that is Zionism is evil, Israel should not exist, and the Palestinian people are the most oppressed people in the world. And if you don't agree with that, they won't hear otherwise. And so they take advantage through professors, through clubs to promote that agenda, and it kind of unites with an openness to activism and creates a challenge in stopping that. And so that is why you see it manifested on college campuses so openly. Yeah.
Someone who works with a lot of these, someone think that Hillel on them.
Well, there's multiple arguments to be won. So ultimately, again, I don't even know if it's like the fact, but the story and the narrative that we all believe to be true is that Shammai was in fact superior in his understanding of Torah and his ability to interpret law, but he was not open. This is the answer, we're going with it. Hillel was always known to be the more open one. There's two things about Hillel that you all know that you didn't know you knew. The first is the golden rule. What if I told you that Hillel came up with the golden rule? Do unto others as you'd like to do unto you. That's Hillel. There's actually a biblical origin from Rabbi Hillel. And the other one is, can you answer this question standing on one leg? That's Rabbi Hillel. And Rabbi Hillel was actually challenged. Can you explain the Torah on one leg? And Rabbi Shammai said, I can't. It's too complicated. Really? And Hillel said the golden rule. Treat your enemy as you'd want to be treated. If I could sum it into one thing standing on one foot, treat others as you want to be treated. And that's why we believe in Hillel's motivation. And if you go to the Israeli Knesset in Jerusalem, there's a menorah. A menorah is like a candelabra. The real menorah, not the one for Hanukkah, has 7 candlesticks, one for each day of the week. And on one of the candlesticks is one of the only sculptures of Rabbi Hillel on one knee, teaching his student the golden rule.
I think it was more of a practice than the other. So
there you go. Yeah.
So we as a club we decided we want to have a seminar, our club with anti-Semitism.
Yep.
Because we had a rabbi from Sinai Temple come.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So if we have it here, we should be happy to participate in that.
It's a far drive. I'll have to check it out.
I know.
No, of course. I'd be more
Because
than
I
happy.
think your perspective and your openness will allow us to
Sure.
conversate.
Absolutely. Be happy to.
And
I'm glad you're doing that.
because I agree with you. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. I have never experienced as much anti-Semitism in my life. And I'm concerned for my mental and my career.
I'm not that old. I'm fit in the middle of this room somewhere in age. I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, what would it be like as a kid? I mean, I heard stories, oh, the synagogue had a spread. Now I come to campus and I say, what would it not be like? I don't even know a reality without hearing a comment, seeing graffiti, hearing a story of a faculty member, hearing somebody be excluded for something. It's really remarkable. And the real challenge to the question about the campus environment is that there really hasn't been up until very recently any resistance to them. It's online, right? You open up your phone. I gave the appeal at the Yom Kippur service upstairs, and I told the joke. So the joke, which is really quick, is Three Jewish friends go to a restaurant and they sit down to eat lunch. And the first guy says, "Oy." And the second guy says, "Oy vey." And then the third guy says, "Hey, listen, if we're going to talk politics, I'm leaving." Right? Because everywhere you look, on the right, on the left, up, down, you're feeling it. And so that's the experience of being Jewish in America. It's not, thank God we still have allies. Thank God we still have a government that is protecting our rights. But there's a lot to be fearful of. Question, yeah.
Yeah. I just. Anybody with Torah understands that Jews brought monotheism to the world. And they also have the land that they're in because they were there first. I mean, I don't understand why there's anti-Semitism in America in the college campus, because the education should be brought through the Bible to the students. But is that not happening?
Look, if you know the name Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, I mentioned the idea of a chief rabbi, the former chief rabbi of the United Kingdom. And maybe at our seminar, we'll queue up some of his teachings. But he has some really good videos that come from his perspective that anti-Semitism is the world responding to the idea that the Jews cannot be equal to everybody else. And what that means is whatever is the thing that makes humans equal at that time, there will inevitably be a movement to try to prevent the Jews from having it. So in the Middle Ages, right, the Jews were thought to have killed Jesus. You cannot have what we have, which is a God, right? It was based on religion. And then in more modern times, it was on ethnicity. Right? We need to purify ourselves and get rid of the vermin that is the Jews. And now it's about nation states. It's about self-determination, right? We're in an era, whether we know it or not, of independence. And the world is changing. And so whether you're in the Middle East or not, that's why the term Zionism is so tied into anti-Semitism, because it's trying to prevent the Jews from having the ability to be independent. So I don't know why young people are taught it properly, but there are people that are specifically trying to teach the hate, and they're trying to teach the idea that Jews should not have a state. So you're up against it. Yeah, please. Mm.
Some secret police
Mhm.
that is still being published. No, the book is the only thing that saw.
Sure.
The others
Of
science.
course.
And that's still being published. The Russian government finally in the 1990s admitted that it was fake and Rana wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the anti-Semitism, again, this is from Rabbi Sacks and others, is the epitome of the contradicting truths. Jews are both vilified for being communists or capitalists, right? We're either too loyal or we have dual loyalty, right? You're as a Jew, you're often accused of being the opposite of each other simultaneously. And that's the epitome of this idea of scapegoating, because it's whether it's an individual or a group, or even to some extent a society, reacting to a challenge and then rebelling and saying, well, it's because of this group of people, because of this ideology. And that is often why, and I don't want to go too political, but I will say that is why Jews in America are often very liberal, because there's a belief that in liberal society that will never happen. And there's a demand almost that in liberal society, people will not be treated just for who they are and their identity, right? Who started the NAACP? Again, not to go too political. It was a group of Jewish men. Who marched besides Martin Luther King Jr. from Selma to Montgomery? It was Jewish rabbis. And it was, yes, they wanted to help plight of African Americans during the civil rights movement, but it was also a selfish interest. Some of the great communists of this world are also Jews. Some of the great socialists, yeah. You know, if I may paint some parallels. Everybody know who Theodore Herzl is? Anybody not know who Theodore? It's okay if you don't. If you don't know who Theodore Herzl is, Theodore Herzl is the father of what we call political Zionism. Theodore Herzl was a journalist in the mid-1800s in Austria. And as a journalist, he flew to France after World War I and after the French Revolution to cover the trial of Alfred Dreyfus, who was on trial for treason. And when Herzl got to France, now we have to go to the mindset of the mid-1800s, because France was one of the first liberal societies the world had ever seen. Finally, you could just be you. You were encouraged to be you. You were no longer this, that, or the other thing. And Herzl's there as a Jewish journalist, and he's covering the trial where the entire French administration, the government, the military, was trying to blame the failure of the war on a single Jew. And they said, it's because you, Jew, were a traitor. How? By being Jewish. That was the extent of their evidence. So Herzl, who is actually kind of a madman, if you read about him in a good way, but also it's why he ended up dying young, goes home and he doesn't just say, oh, anti-Semitism is bad. He doesn't just say, oh, anti-Semitism is on the rise. He says, I've understood now that if even in liberal France, when things go wrong, they're literally going to point the finger at the Jew. He said, anti-Semitism must be part of the human condition. It will never go away. There's no formula to escape it, except, what does he say? Our own security in our own country. And that's why he creates the World Zionist Congress in the late 1800s, to say the only way to escape constant persecution and constant finger pointing is to have our own nation state. Now, the sad, really tragic irony is that not only was Herzl right, but he failed. Because only 40 years later, half the Jewish population of the world was annihilated by Hitler and the Nazis. So he was right, but he failed. Only after the Holocaust were the Jewish people able to claim their independence in their nation state, the Jewish state of Israel. So there's a lot of parallels, though, about what Herzl experienced, and seeing the finger being pointed to what I say, and I tell this to students, I tell this to donors. October 7th was the worst tragedy for the Jewish people in Israel. October 8th was our Dreyfus affair. Because our Dreyfus affair was when we looked up after October 7th, expecting the world and our friends and our peers and our teachers to say, oh my gosh, we understand now the situation that the Jewish people face. But instead, we were the ones blamed for it. Occupation, genocide, all these terms that, again, are the opposite. You want to talk about a decolonial project, let's talk about the Jewish state of Israel. There's nothing more decolonial about the Jewish state of Israel, yet you go on that campus and we're called colonizers. That's these antitheses and these opposites that we experience as anti-Semitism grows. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me what?
So last August, so the August of 2024, 4 members of UCLA, a faculty and 3 students, 2 of which were grad students, sued the university because of what took place in April of 2024 when there was the protest encampment that was built and lasted over a week in Royce Quad. And I was there, and I can say what they claimed in their lawsuit was true. There were barricades set up to which the protesters were monitoring themselves, and if they thought you were Jewish, they would not let you in. Not only into their protest area, but even to buildings that were also being blocked off as a result of the way this whole thing manifested itself. So they sued the university. They won an injunction from a federal judge that said, I agree, your rights were violated, and that UCLA was compelled to change. And then this summer, there was a settlement reached in which Organizations, including ours and the plaintiffs, received settlement money to help fight anti-Semitism, but also it instituted federal guidelines on how to make sure that never happens again, basically. Yeah. So our Hillel aims to try to be the umbrella over a lot. So and the one differentiation I'll say is that we are, as I mentioned, an independent organization. Students that come here, they run the show, right? When you guys walk in and you see all the cool stuff happening on the first floor, believe me, this boring old guy didn't come up with it. They come up with it, they run it. There's a student, leadership. Student leaders can then register as a club. Right, so they can go to UCLA's campus and say, our Hillel club is a part of UCLA, and they can get access and to facilities and things like that. We try to invite any student club that is in any way Jewish, connects to Judaism, is Israeli, is interfaith, anything that fits, we try to bring them into our umbrella. So we try to work with as many student clubs as we can. There's also an organization called Chabad. You may have heard of Chabad. I'm pointing because it's literally on the other complete opposite end of the campus. Chabad is love. I go to Chabad when I'm overseas. I go to Chabad in my community oftentimes. I will say, as a point of context, Chabad does not agree with my premise about being able to choose your own path when it comes to Judaism. And that's a challenge that we have because they teach a certain way of being Jewish in their... That's right. There's a modern Shamla, exactly.
But you know what's interesting?
Uh-huh.
I haven't ended that vibe till my uncles was there. Rabbi, he was a cool guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, I go to Chabad, right? I think certain missionary organizations, especially when they're not in a local community, it's not really relevant because they do open their doors to everybody, and that's an amazing mitzvah. It's part of being Jewish. When we're in a community together and you're teaching things and your teachings contradict, you end up with that tension that I spoke about that makes the Jewish people so lovely. And we deal with that. There's actually a Jewish apartment. If you know Hebrew, it will be an obvious name. It's called the Bait, which is funny because the is English, but Bait is the Hebrew word for house. So there's the Bait, and then there's an organization called Olami, which does a similar type of Orthodox religious outreach to Jewish students. So there's a bunch, but we try to bring as much under the Hillel umbrella as we can. Yeah.
President Benjamin meeting here. Discussion following the meeting we had.
Yep.
I'm thinking, we're going to have a rabbi, have a psychologist. Discussion about antisemitism. And the date I believe has been set, December 11th. Benjamin mentioned that if you want to, you could come December 11th.
Yeah.
Right. I think
Thursday, right?
Oh, it'll be a Thursday.
I'm here. Thursday the 11th, I'm here. Uh-huh.
what we're talking about here. Is there anything to the pieces of anti-Semitism that's caused by jealousy? Here's a relatively small amount of our population, and yet look how successful they have been in business, in the arts, you name it.
You know, I actually think the answer is no. I don't think it is. Based on the anti-Semitism that I see and the experience that people who are facing anti-Semitism go through, I do not think it's that pure emotion of jealousy. I think there is part of anti-Semitism is denying Jewish people their truths, right? Denying their truths about family, about success, about Israel. I don't think that comes from a place of jealousy. I think it comes from a place of wanting to deny that as a point of pride. You know, Jewish people on a college campus, oftentimes the social dynamic will be students who are privileged and students who do not have privilege. That's sometimes the term that's used. Almost always, especially among students that identify or would say they do not come from a background of privilege, always claim Jews have privilege simply because of wealth, financial wealth, right? Now, that's not always the case because you could have, so I don't agree that it's jealousy. This is my cue that we're over time.
By the way, everybody, I think we could have this conversation, and we will another time. On that meeting, you please.
You didn't give me a stop. I didn't have my shot clock. I was just gonna keep
No,
going.
I know, I understand that, but I do have a couple of
I
things.
know. I appreciate the time. We look forward to
No,
continuing.
hang in there, hang in there. I have some. Come over here. Okay, hold my nose. You have to stay on me. Oh, there's my club to
Thank you so
you.
much.
You were a tremendous speaker. I couldn't have described Judaism any better.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And the fact that you're open to others. Because this club is not.
Of course.
Jewish.
Of course.
So, but we do want to have a conversation about what's happening to our friends and family. Okay?
I'm here everywhere, but also.
Okay, we'll make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear the food is good. That's the most
The
important.
food is delicious.
Good. Glad to hear it.
All right. We have a couple other things. So I am okay, the 23rd is Father Travis Harris, president of Urban Day High School, UCLA. And by the way, I want to let you know that the following week, the 30th, is my last meeting as president. I'll miss you all, but I'll be here as a citizen like you guys are. And also my close friend who you've been experienced one time on photography will have another subject, which is anonymously, he will critique and help edit some photos that you think, number one, are great. Some that you didn't like. How do you take a better photo? He's going to utilize our photos. So Tia's going to send out an announcement. Please forward me your photos. He will have no idea who the photos are from because it's coming from me. And he's going to put together, not everybody's photos are going to be used, but he's going to analyze from a professional photographer how to take a better photo with our photos. So that's my last meeting. Matt was going to, I don't think we have the time because the meeting's over. So on it, Matt put together a good template of our new website. So let's wait until you come back from Japan. The two of you will discuss, we'll maybe talk about it, and maybe we'll show the new website. Okay, all right? So, and with that, yeah. So by the way, everybody, as is my tradition, the meeting is adjourned. It's 1:30. So, you know, he's there specifically fun. So he does a great job.
For your next meetings,
Yes.
please be more mindful of the microphone, because your voice, as unlike Dan Gold's, your voice doesn't carry.
Mine didn't carry?
That's what they have a microphone
Oh,
for.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what people are supposed to do